Hi, everyone. Welcome to CSI, Creative Source of Inspiration. My name is Ca'ryna Carjan, and today we have a very special guest coming all the way from Australia. Shanley will be sharing an adventurous story, but then she's also going to be sharing, it is a very powerful story, but this woman really had to go through something very horrible and horrific. But it also shows you how the spirit can rise up under insurmountable situations. And so I hope that these stories inspire you. That is the purpose of CSI. That's why we come to you. And just to give a little bit of heads up, we're having a horrible heat wave, and fingers crossed that my internet doesn't go down. So it has been pre-recorded, and I just have to share my screen a quick moment. And here we go. Please enjoy. Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for coming one more time for CSI, Creative Source of Inspiration. We are here today with Colleen, my co-host, and our special guest today, Shanley Ewen-Smith, all the way from Australia. And my name is Ca'ryna Carjan. And it is about getting uplifted. There is so much stuff going on being said out there that we forget to focus on something nice and beautiful. And today, in this short period of time that we share with you, we would like to bring that to you, something inspirational. So, having said that, Shanley, what is inspiration to you?
Oh, thank you, Ca'ryna, and thank you very much for having me. I'm really honored to be here and to share a little bit about my thoughts on inspiration and what that means to me. So I guess it's different for everybody, but what inspiration really means to me is something that fires up my heart, that speaks to my heart and my values, that makes me, I guess, inspired to follow that way. It sparks a fire in me that, it's so beautiful. I love to be inspired. I love inspiring other people. I think one of the things I'm inspired about is something that I enjoy to do a lot, which is sailing on the ocean. And so I love to watch a couple on YouTube who are an Australian couple. They have a couple of young kids, but I'm inspired by them, and I feel inspired because they live life differently. And I'm inspired by things like that, about people taking a stand to speak out for what they believe in or to live life differently. So I feel like society has, shaped us to how we're expected to be and show up in the world. And it's people like my sailing friends, the vagabond, who choose to live life differently. They've taken they homeschool their kids. They're sailing around Southeast Asia. They're living off nature. They've slowed down time. To me, that is what inspires me. It's that connection back to nature, having time to reflect with yourself, which in our busy lives, sometimes that gets lost. So to me, that's inspiration. It really burns the fire within, if you like.
Oh, that is beautiful. And I love that phrase, that it burns the fire within. And yes, it ignites you and it enlivens you. And you can feel that spirit want to soar. And of CSI, it helps motivate you sometimes in different directions.
It's so beautiful. I love to be inspired. I love inspiring. And I guess it stems a little bit from my own personal experiences living this life. And if I may share, I think I have some time to share here. But 15 years ago, my husband and I and our daughter, so she was living with us on our yacht overseas in Central America. We lived this life where we literally lived on board catamarans, sailing yachts. Yeah, and sailed around. Our job, I call it a job, but it's really a lifestyle, was to take people on sailing vacations for a living. And it was during a time we were working on the yachts that we owned our own yacht, and we took some time off of our work to go and fetch our yacht, which was in the Caribbean, and bring it over to Central America in Belize, where we were living. And during that time, it was just myself, my husband, and a friend. We encountered a lot of adversity, I guess. And to cut quite a long story short, there were a series of events that had happened. One, we got caught in quite a big storm, and this is what I love about this sort of life. It's being faced with the elements of nature that really test you, that make you feel like you're alive. Do you know what I mean? When you come at, so say you sailed through the night in a vicious storm, which in this case we did, and we had a lot of things on the boat break, and we had like water rushing into the cockpit, and like it, the boat's on a huge angle. There were a lot of things going on. Like, to most people, they'd think, oh, no way, I would never want to do something like that. But for us, that being pushed, I guess, to your not to your limits, but just being pushed, being tested by the forces of nature.
Oh yeah.
That it makes you feel so alive. And back to this story is we got caught in a storm in one part of it. On the other part of it, we had some engine issues for our yacht, and we had no wind to sail anymore. The wind had literally just stopped, and we had an engine issue. So if you like, we were somewhat stranded where we were in the ocean, running out of food and water and those sorts of things. So we actually made a beeline to the coast. And the coast at the time is a country, Haiti. You may know of it. It's one of the developing countries in the Caribbean. As usual, we put down our anchor, and you always get the local people coming out in their dugout canoes, usually wanting to exchange something with you for, seafood. They would want something that you would have on board, whether it be canned food or perhaps a little bit of money, the US dollars, of course. Whatever, there'd be some sort of exchange, and this was quite normal. So we had the same situation in this particular bay in Haiti, but I did notice that the people on the canoes, their eyes were very different. They just looked a little bit more, they looked a little bit troubled, a little bit, I don't know, I saw something in their faces that made me a little bit wary. That night we went to sleep, and we then I awoke actually in the middle of the night to the sound of coral reefs scraping on the bottom of the boat. Went outside to investigate with a flashlight, and saw that our anchor rope, which normally is pointing straight down to the seabed, was heading straight to the ocean, to the shore around. And I shone my light, I could see a coconut tree, and there was like maybe 8 or so men pulling our boat by the anchor line around a coconut tree and pulling it ashore. And of course, alarm bells then. It was
oh my God. This is an inspiring story you're sharing.
This is just, I guess, this is not about an inspiring story, but this is what inspires me to get back out to this life of living on the ocean and experiencing different cultures. We spent the next 3 hours up on a reef, being attacked by a village of people. It was really one of the most scariest times of our lives. We didn't think we were going to die that day. Luckily enough, the tide came up during the 3 hours we were being under attack, and managed to float the boat and motor on out of this bay that we were in. That's a very short version of this story. But I guess what I learned from that lesson was
My
that.
God, I'm sorry. Take a moment.
Huge.
Take a moment.
Yeah.
Wait a minute here.
Okay,
I can see and feel the whole thing. Holy crap.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my God. Okay, so obviously nothing that you could prepare for. The stress levels were off the charts.
Yeah.
You were frightened for your life.
Yes.
And thank goodness, all of a sudden, the tide came in enough that you could literally escape for your lives. Because once they took the boat, you don't know what was going to happen on top of it. No good intention there. Okay, viewers, stay with us. Stay tuned. Want to hear the rest of this? Okay, go ahead, please.
Well, I think, after we moved out of that danger zone, obviously we were shaken and angry that we were in that situation. But when I look back on it now, and this is why I'm striving and I'm inspired by people who live this life of travel, like this nomadic life, where you go and experience different cultures in the world, whether it be by land or by the ocean, and you're very much in touch with people and nature, is that I think that I learned from that everybody, sees things differently in the world. There's no really one truth. It's just your perception of the truth and the experiences that you've had in your life that shape what you believe is the truth. And so for in the beginning, although we thought these people were out to kill us, I believe they could have if they wanted to. They didn't have guns. They had machetes. There were plenty of them. But they wanted our boat. They actually just wanted our boat. They came from such a poor country that this was an exit out of there for a new life. The next island from where we were was Cuba or Jamaica. Could take your pick. So I'm inspired by getting back out there, because I feel like sometimes we can get trapped in our little bubble, in our world, in our culture. And if you just sort of step outside of that and see what else, I don't know, you just feel so enriched, not having near-death experiences, but but just, exploring and being out there in the world and seeing other ways of living. Yes.
Well, I can definitely understand that.
Yeah.
And it is true that everybody can live a different truth. And their truth is of what helped color their thinking and their behavior for all of us. Of course, I believe in that there is a much higher truth, the one truth, but living as humans, we do experience our truth. And to help us widen our perceptions and not be so locked down, and in being locked down, we can get highly critical, judgmental, be fearful of things that we don't need to be fearful of. And we can have a deeper understanding of what somebody else is going through. And I think that even though you went through an extreme situation there, I think the moral of the story, once you came through the whole thing, is that your eyes were open a little more. And what your initial thought was, because you went into survival mode, that more than likely that wasn't actually what was happening. They just wanted to steal your boat. That's all. At least you're stranded on Haiti.
Yeah. That's right.
Okay, so the inspiring part about that I think, from what I just heard, is to be able to really interact with more people of different lifestyles, different cultures, different ways to understand people that are all on our same planet.
Absolutely.
Now, I have done a little sailing, okay, and motoring, not a whole bunch like that. I've been to a few places. I've primarily more been by land to know different types of cultures, and for a long time I was pretty nomadic myself, living at a camp that saying it was rustic is a nice way to say it. But all different types of lifestyles, including living on a yacht for a while. And it all opens up different thought processes. And it's like, oh, wow, I never would have seen that or experienced that. So I think the word that you used, enrich our lives, I think that is extremely accurate. Now, we're not suggesting anybody go out there and put yourself in any level of danger. But to experience something a little outside your comfort zone doesn't have to be hugely outside your comfort zone, just enough that you start expanding your wherewithal, your perceptions, because all of our knowledge is based in our perceptions. That's where it originates. So if we want to think broader, bigger, more understanding, more compassionate, then that's one aspect that we all can individually control, is to start expanding how we view things. So now that you gave us a harrowed story, but with a good moral, okay, love it, would you like to share what is something that is uplifting and inspiring without the difficulty part to that degree of life-threatening?
Yes.
But I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that, I must say.
Thank you. I guess I find this story uplifting. There are some dark points to it, but this is the kind
But that's
of
how things do get uplifted, really,
Right.
is that being
Right.
able to come through something.
Sure.
Oh, and hang in here, people.
I'll find out.
Well, I mean, I'm reading a book at the moment, and I'd love to talk about that. The book I'm reading is called The Soul of Money by Lynn Twist. I'm not sure if you've read it before, but I highly recommend it. The Soul of Money, Lynn Twist. She basically is a woman who does various projects around the world for ending world hunger. She's the founder of the Hunger Project. She also speaks up about women's rights and human rights around the world, and really kind of tries to bridge the gap between the very affluent societies and the people who are living in poverty in the world, and talks about the relationship money has in both of these different societies. It's so interesting to read, because again, it's all about our perception. And I love the chapter she talks about the whole scarcity mentality that we often find ourselves in, that there's never enough time, there's never enough resources, there's never enough money, there's never enough. Whereas you can go to, and I found this on some of my travels, like for instance in developing countries like Belize in Central America, the way we were greeted when we first arrived in that country on our sailboat, these people literally, and we spent 4 years there, so I got to really befriend a lot of the locals and see and experience how they lived, which is so basic. They really have nothing. They have no government support or anything. They are one of the most happiest cultures of people I've ever seen. Yet they have, in our eyes, nothing. No material possessions that we would find to be necessary and valuable in our life. In this story, she talks about many scenarios like this, but the one that I loved the most, and I just finished listening to a bit of it this morning, is she goes to it's a woman's a Beijing women's conference over in China. People from all over the world, women from all over the world, take a stand to be heard for what they believe in. And some of the women who came to share their stories here was just absolutely mind-blowing. The one that obviously stuck in my head was a lady from Guatemala. The reason being is we also spent a lot of time when we were sailing in Guatemala and Belize, being neighboring countries. And she's a Mayan woman, and she's from a farming background, so she's wearing all of her traditional cloths, and life is very basic and very hard. She had 11 children, this woman, and her husband and her 2 sons had gone into hiding because the military over there takes the young boys and fathers to do their business that they do. So they had gone into hiding and left the woman with her farm and her other children, and never told them where they were hiding so that she would be protected. The military came to her house one time and demanded to know where the husband and the sons were, of which she says she had no idea. The military then did some horrific things to this woman because they didn't believe her. They first started killing all of her animals, her milking cows, her pigs, her chickens, the whole lot. But wait for it. I mean, this is the dark part, but this is where you can feel inspired on the other side. Your face, Ca'ryna. I think these stories need to be heard because this is real life.
I'm not saying they don't. This is highly unexpected. Okay.
Sorry, I'm not a very mainstream person, as you're getting to know. Never mind. Anyhow,
I mean, how are you people feeling out there hearing this? Okay, wait for it. There is an inspiration coming.
Well, this woman then had to endure watching her own children be killed in front of her remaining children from the military, because they weren't giving up, and the fact that she wasn't giving away the location of her sons and her husband. Absolutely horrific for anyone to have to go through. She was a nursing mother. They ripped her baby off her and actually cut off her breasts. Like, this is horrific stuff. So she's left with nothing, and she decided that her life and the life of her family wasn't going to be worth nothing. And she heard about this Beijing Women's Conference, and she sold everything she had, her farm, all her pots and pans, all her possessions, everything, and she bought a one-way ticket to Beijing. She didn't have money for accommodation, food while she was there, or even a return ticket home. And she took a stand in front of 500 other women who had also flown from all parts of the world to speak their truth and their story, and told the world of the horrific things that these women have to endure in her country. And she did it all for the fact that to bring light and awareness, and hoping that women of more of greater means would be able to use this information to stop violence in the world, to put an end to the suffering of many other people in a similar situation to her. And of course, the book goes on and on with more similar stories to this, which are just horrific. But for somebody to muster all of their energy, all of their life force, all of their material possessions to come to do something so meaningful that can impact so many other people, to try and facilitate change, that to me is inspiration. Like, that's big.
That is huge. That really is huge. And
You have to get that book. It's really good.
and I do know some women that I got to become friends with that survived the killing fields, and in China and in Vietnam, both. And they created an organization from survival to thriving, and have been and still are doing a great deal of awareness in all of these areas too, because there are some horrific things out there in humanity that is not humanity.
Correct. Mm.
But here's a beautiful thing, though, is that from somebody's tragedy, you can be uplifted to take some action and can see that you can take some sort of action. It may not be as bold, but it still shows you, no matter what set of circumstances anything is, because that's a relative scale there. All of a sudden, you think your troubles are so bad. No. That there's plenty of room to take action to help start making change. And the thing is if every person could just take ownership of their own life and be responsible for everything that they say and do, that alone energetically starts shifting everything on the planet. And so, even though that those stories were harder than I thought they were going to be, perfectly great, I really appreciated you sharing those, because it is important to be aware, and it is important to start to really take a very strong look inside and say, what was I complaining about? That is like nothing. I should be grateful instead.
That's right.
And the gratitude is what opens up your heart more, because you're raising your frequency into a higher vibration. And with that, you start seeing different possibilities, not just for yourself, but for other people, how you can lend a hand where maybe in the past you wouldn't even, not that you didn't want to, you just wouldn't have considered it.
Exactly.
So I think that is very important, and I really am very appreciative and grateful that you have shared not only your adventures out there, some of them, can't wait to hear more of those, but also that deep level of inspiration. I really appreciate that, Shanley. And all you viewers, I'm really hoping that it can, what was that phrase for you? Light a fire?
Yeah, light a fire within. I think the human spirit is so inspiring.
Light a fire within. Absolutely. And with that, we're going to leave you with that inspiring phrase for today. So thank you very much for coming all the way from Australia.
Thank you,
Shanley,
Ca'ryna.
to share your wisdom and what you've experienced. And thank you, Colleen. And I think she got frozen out there on us, but that's okay. She's still with us, smiling.
That's a good thing.
So we thank you very much for being here. Please come and watch the replay and catch some other speakers as well. We have many things happening this month, and always look for us on Thursdays, whether it's CSI, Holistic Health, Vibrant Health, and we have a special encore coming on the 27th of a live workshop. So thank you very much again for being with us.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, and God bless.
Well, thank you very much. I know that that was a little bit more hard hitting than anticipated, but what an amazing spirit to be able to rise up to such a level, to be able to want to bring awareness to such beyond unconscionable brutality. So I hope somewhere in your heart you ended up with some form of inspiration, and just maybe the situations that have been bothering you have been a little reduced, and you can breathe a little easier as well. So my name is Ca'ryna Carjan, and we will see you next week. Please, we have the replay. Please subscribe. Tell your friends to come in if they want any uplifting, anything about vibrant health. We have a plethora of things that we're going to continue to bring to you. And next Thursday, the 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, please come and join us with the encore that you are a self-fulfilling prophecy. And we do go over obstacles and procrastination and these things and what the energy does, but find ways to go beyond it. Until then, have the most pleasant, gorgeous day, and